Hello and welcome everyone again. I hope you had a good break already. So, as we said, we'll continue with this plenary session now with introduction to the iFortrust mentoring program, where we'll go through how the mentoring program looks like and also introduce you to the individual mentoring plan, which is the document which will be our reference point for both of us to go through the mentoring program. Let's get into the more details. The mentoring program introduction for many of you who do not know or in detail what is the mentoring program, I'll introduce you to the whole program. Basically, in our view, this is how we see your journey. That is, as an SME, that you first discover about iFortrust and find the relevance about iFortrust with your solution, with your challenge that you would like to solve, and with basic understanding of what iFortrust can provide or where it can help you in terms of solution. You participate, which you did by applying for this call by sending us the proposal along with the details of what your challenge is and how you plan to solve it. And of course, you are the ones which were selected through the selection process. And here we are now in the third phase, that's the implementation. So, of course, in this phase, what we do is we provide you with this whole mentoring support, where we provide you with mentors and experts who are regularly in touch with you and are there for to guide you and help you in overcoming your challenges in your proposed solution that you want to develop use in using iFortrust, and of course also explain to you when necessary how iFortrust building blocks and components can be used in your particular situation. And as part of that, this mentoring program where we will guide you through. But we are not only focused for getting a successful experiment done, but we also include in the mentoring the aspects related to sustainability of your solution. So in this program, you will also not only prove that your solution is working, but you also take steps necessary to make sure that it can sustain even beyond the scope of this program, right? So, an overview of how a mentoring program looks like is basically you can see that in 3 to 4 stages. So, first stage is basically on the onboarding side. So, in the beginning of the mentoring program, our focus is essentially on making sure the functional and technical scoping is done. So because you came up with your proposal, and along with that you proposed an architecture and solution on how you intend to solve it. However, we do understand that you may or may not know iFortrust in depth, and it may not be possible for your architects to design a solution which can benefit out of all the iFortrust, what all iFortrust provides. So now is the time that you have access to the expert from iFortrust and who can help you and guide you through the solution designing and scoping of your experiment project, which you would like to deliver in this mentoring program, throughout this mentoring program, which runs for 9 months. Then the next stage is of use case plan. So of course, once you have defined your boundaries and defined a high level architecture and solution, you would like to work on detailing out the steps that you would like to take in order to achieve that solution or develop that solution essentially. So in this stage, essentially your focus is to develop prototype where you are testing out the feasibility in terms of how your architecture would look like, and if your solution is correct and it proves the point basically, followed by the stage of proof of concept, where you actually focus on developing your minimum viable product, which you would like to bring to the market. So that it is an MVP or minimum viable product, so it has to be in that sense almost ready for your customers to use, and that's a product that you would like to take to your customers for demonstration and ask them to start using it by selling it or whichever business model you have. The final stage is aftercare, which is beyond the scope of this program. However, it's some steps like sustainability is related to this, and you would already start thinking while developing the MVP about how you would go about when after the mentoring program is over, and there you might need certain support from us if that is necessary. Then that is also something you plan along, and we provide you with some aftercare support in that perspective, or what steps you would need to take at a later stage is what we can address during this phase, right? This is what the mentoring stages look like, though they are drawn linearly uh, on the screen. However, they don't necessarily need to be done in sequence, or they can run in parallel. So you can already start defining your use cases and detail them out on terms of development actions that you would take while you are still finalizing the scoping and design, solution design, for example. Or you can already start with your prototype development and things like that. So in each stage, what additional things that iFortrust core partners will facilitate is in the onboarding, we start with locating you with the mentors. You probably already have received the emails where you have been introduced to your mentors, but you will also see it here again. And of course, you already have set up your initial mentoring session with them to officially introduce each other, and these are basically mentors who act as your contact points for iFortrust core partners. And our focus in this stage is also to get the individual mentoring plan ready, which then is attached to the subgrant agreement. More on that coming up in the next slides. In use case planning, together with the steps you take, we also try to help you by inviting you to events where you can network with each other and find synergies amongst yourself, where you think your experiment can benefit from other experiment, and vice versa, so that you can join hands and try to see if you can leverage each other's positions or each other's experiments to improve your business case, use case in that sense. And not only to that, but we also provide you with additional networking opportunities with other participants who are not part of this program as well. And in the final stage, or in the previous stage, we also include some fundraising opportunities by bringing you closer to the next possible opportunities for getting more funds to continue with your experiment, or even connection with investors who, if interested, can also be part of your business basically. And focusing mainly on the sustainability aspect is what we try to do in the last stage, though again here this is more like written down sequentially, but they doesn't need to be in that particular order, and we can run many of these things in parallel. Yeah. Let me, yeah. So a bit about mentors. So each consortium or each experiment will be assigned primary, secondary mentors along with the business mentor. So primary and secondary mentors are coming from iSHARE and FIWARE, and business mentors are coming from Funding Box. And these three together are your regular mentors with whom, or initial contact points from iFirst's core partners, with whom you have a regular touch point, and you can interact with them and share your challenges and feedback with them, so that they can help you in finding the right solution for you, even by means of connecting to you with specific topic experts if that's necessary. Mentors will regularly have a synchronization with you and guide you throughout the project duration. And for that reason, individual mentoring plan is quite important, because that is a shared document that we work on together, and that is what we uh, mentors use as a guide to follow up with you on synchronization in terms of how you are progressing, and also for you to share with us all the details about your experiments, and with which our experts can help you where necessary very quickly. Under this program, each experiment is expected that it may receive up to maximum number of hours for each of the topics mentioned here. So technical and business mentorship, 54 hours each, and for other topics like governance, legal, and operational mentorship, in total 90 hours. Though this is an indication, so some may use less, some may use more, but this is our guideline in terms of how many hours of mentorship is provided to each experiment. And of course, this program has milestones defined, which we'll see in a bit. And each milestone, at the end of each milestone, mentors conduct your review, and there is another selection committee which then is finalizing the review, and then the review process is complete for each milestone. We'll see more details in a bit. So mentors are there to provide you with all the support, apart from being in touch with you on regular basis for understanding how you are progressing. And they come with a toolkit in terms of facilities that we provide to you. So, for example, you may ask for specific workshops or architecture or solution design meetings, and either the mentor themselves or coming up with an expert on specific topic that you require a particular support in, they will arrange for this meeting with you in a suitable time, and provide you with necessary information or conduct workshop together to help you finalize the solution. For example, business oriented meetings with business mentors and experts, when you have topics related to strategic direction of your business, or the business model, or the sustainability aspects and those things, legal and ethical guidance, and synergy meetings with other experiments or other such companies which we may have in our network, and you can find them and have conversations with them on how your experiment can find a synergy with what they are doing, and how can you exploit that synergies. So let's quickly check the list of all the experiments along with the assignment of the mentors. So these are the mentors who are already in touch with you for each of your experiment. I will leave the introductions to the individual sessions that you have already planned in the coming week, and this is where your mentors would join along with you in that meeting, and will introduce themselves. Of course, you also introduce yourself to the mentors, and uh, there becomes your basically mentoring journey. Um, Please let us know if you have not yet scheduled the initial mentoring meeting with your mentor, if in case of challenge. But as far as I understand, that most of you have already set up the meeting. So now is the time to go through the individual mentoring plan. I will skip the presentation and I'll actually share with you on the screen the individual how the individual mentoring plan looks like. So this is the template. To give you a bit of idea, each of you, for each experiment, we have created a folder on our Google Drive, which you will have access to, and these come ready with some of the templates and documents or folders. uh, and you will also find your copy of your IMP template in that, which you can start working on. Also go through it basically. So of course, let's go through all the sections of this individual mentoring plan, because this is the document which will be used as a guide throughout the mentoring program. uh, and you have to make your own version of individual mentoring plan, which will be added as a copy or in the sub grant agreement at the end of first month. So let's go to the table of contents. So as you can see, this document is divided into two parts: the part A and part B. So part A basically deals about the more details and the project plan and KPIs and deliverables and those elements of this program, which we need to be updated in the first round. And part A usually then doesn't update much over the period of the whole program, because once these are set, it's mainly they are set, and there are some elements which needs some updates, which we'll see when we go through them. And then there is part B, where you will that's the living part of the document, where you will constantly update as you learn more and more about IFA Trust, and update your details in terms of your experiment, your architecture, and those elements. And that will be under part B, right? So let's take a closer look at both the sections. So important to note that this, as I've been mentioning, I will mention this again, that individual mentoring plan, this document of the first version, which has to be finished by end of first month, that is 15th of January, will be the version that will be added to the sub-grant agreement. And that is essentially your first milestone, right? We'll see more details in terms of what other activities are there in terms of milestone. But let's look at the part A. There is a basic information in terms of how you work on your individual mentoring plan document, and where we introduce you to the project folder structure. As I said, your experiment already has a folder created on our Google Drive, and the access rights will be shared by mentor to you, to your team basically. So please coordinate with your mentors when more people from your team needs access to that folder. But the basic structure of that is, in your experiment folder, you will find a template of copy of this template, that is your IMP, which you need to personalize or which you need to update basically. There is a contact Excel list also available in that folder. So this is where you will put the contacts of all the people working in your experiment. So that is easy for mentors and for yourself as well to connect with each other when necessary. Uh, yeah, for any synchronization or any specific topic related items that you would like certain people to handle, right? Then there is a deliverables folder, in under which we expect you, when you deliver your deliverables in the document or in other formats, they should be placed in this folder. And under this folder, there are subfolders related to each milestone. So you have to put the versions of your deliverables under specific milestones when you are done so, right? Then you have minutes folder. So all the meetings that happen between you and the mentors and experts, Usually, a minutes is produced of that meeting. All those meetings should be recorded in this folder and placed in this folder. So this helps us in our us and you in organizing this better, and you always have a ready reference on what was discussed during certain meetings, um, uh, to facilitate to you in that sense. You also have a working documents folder. So all the documents or all the items that you are currently working on, the working copies can be kept in this folder, which is separate from deliverables. So here in this documents, you can keep on updating them, but as soon as they are ready for delivery, you have to make an export of it in the deliverables folder. And there is also a shortcut to a common file that we share with all of you in terms of that's called communication dashboard, where you will update all your communication related activities. More details will be explained in the communications section below later on in the part of this presentation. Okay, so then we go to the section 2, and in section 2 you can see project plan. I will quickly go through each milestone at a high level. I'm not going to go through each of the line items. I encourage you, however, that you should, after this meeting, go through this individual mentoring plan template thoroughly and understand what it means for you, and come up with questions to your mentors during the first meeting that you have with them. Of course, you can also raise the questions on the help desk. The help desk details will be shared later on as well, and explain to you how you can raise your questions there. Um, but in essence, this is overall planning for the whole 9 months that we see together as a mentoring program, and this is your guide for the overall planning too. As I said, we have divided this mentoring program in multiple milestones. So we are talking here about the first milestone, where you can see the line items which are detailing about each items that will be taken during this period. So, for example, welcome event, which is right now what you are currently in, uh, and similar activities like training camp, which is also going starting today itself. Um, uh, so those activities are mentioned here. And of course, at the end, you will see that for milestone 1, there are 2 review rounds that happen. So at the end of the after the deadline, we initiate the review process to check in terms of whether you meet all the requirements of this milestone, and based on that, as an assessment and scoring is done by the mentoring committee, and mentoring committee forwards that to selection committee for approval. And if selection committee reviews those assessments and provides with an approval or rejection, basically. So when selection committee approves the review of the mentoring committee, then your review is approved, basically. And when your review is approved positively, basically, then the payment for that milestone is followed, right? You see there is a second round. So in case when in the first round mentors find out that you are still not compliant with certain elements that you need to fulfill for this milestone, completion of this milestone, they will inform you about that and provide you with some time in order to finish that. Um, so, in that sense, whichever are not finished by the first round, there is a second round which follows, in which only the experiments which have not finished everything in the round 1, or they did not pass the round 1, they will be reevaluated in round 2, basically. And again, the same process follows. The mentoring committee does the review and proposes the assessment to the selection committee, and then the selection committee approves or rejects it. So, in case when second round selection committee approves it, then the payment follows. However, it may happen that still some of the experiments may not be able to fulfill certain requirements for this milestone, then the mentoring committee will or mentors will inform you that you still need to fulfill that requirement, and you will get more time to it. But there is no review round happening for that particular milestone, so you can fix the non-compliancy, but your review will be conducted along with the following milestones review. So then you will have to wait for closure of previous milestone in the next milestone. I hope that makes sense to all of you. Um, this is to make sure that we can streamline this process as much as possible, and uh, also for you to keep the expectations right, that these are the dates when we expect these processes to be finished. Also on your end, so that we can also finish this process on our end, and then the payments can be made on time. If you do not meet the requirements for that milestone, then the payment are not made until those requirements are met. So that is about the milestone one. Similarly, you have the milestone two. Again, this, as you can see, this is related to the mentoring program overview I shared with you. Here, it's mainly about scoping. So here you are preparing all the functional and technical specification and solution design, along with certain other items that are mentioned here. Important reminder to projects who do not yet have an certified LEBDS is, please make sure that you nominate one person, ideally from your DIH, uh, to go through the LEBDS certification. To go through that LEBDS certification, basically, that candidate should go through all the training and then apply. Then uh, we'll share details about how the examinations are conducted, and you can schedule yourself for an exam interview where the experts on iSHARE and FIWARE take an examination, and when you pass that exam, then you are both exams basically, then um, you are granted with LEBDS certifications, and for each experiment, and minimum one LEBDS is necessary. Okay, so please make sure that you fulfill that requirement, of course, before this date, if you don't have someone yet already. There are other items here, and of course, the second milestone is also followed by the same review process. And with that, we are going through the milestone three, where you are working on the first working prototype. So there your focus is to develop the prototype, um, and which is basically your proof that this solution in your situation also works fine. There are some elements like cross value chain bootcamp and fundraising bootcamp. So as I mentioned already, that we also help you in finding synergies and also fundraising opportunities. So there will be a physical event. The details about this are provided here. Further details will of course be provided in due course, but basically mark your dates for March 24, for this week of March 20. Uh, there is an physical event in terms of Data Space Support Center annual conference, where we will also be conducting cross value chain and fundraising bootcamp. This is being conducted in the Netherlands. So all experiments are expected to be there mandatorily. At least one person from each experiment has to be there for representation and participate in this event and bootcamp basically. Yes, and of course the main focus of this milestone is about developing your prototype, which will be evaluated by the uh, by the mentors during the review process, and there are some other elements around it which you can find in this table. Again, for this milestone, you have the two-step process, two rounds of the review process uh, to close this milestone. And then there is the final milestone, which is basically your MVP development, with the focus of development of MVP, which is with which you are actually ready to go to your market with a minimum viable product, right? Um, in, in that sense, this is like your final milestone of this program. So everything that is needed to be finished by now should be finished in this milestone. And there is no here you see a difference in terms of milestone review, that there is no two rounds, there is only one single round at the end. So please make sure that you finish on time, because I4 Trust as a program as well is finishing on 30th of September next year. So there is no possibility of extensions of this deadline. So please make sure that you are finished with your experiment and this mentoring program before the set deadlines in all the milestones, right? And with this review, we will finalize. We will do the final review. Again, the process is similar. The mentoring committee does the review, forwards it to selection committee. Selection committee approves it, and then followed by the payment. Um, yeah, that's essentially about the project plan at high level. One thing that you may have noticed is there is only one date that is mentioned here. That's about end date, and that is because as I mentioned earlier, you can start any of these activities as early as you want. However, there are set end dates for these items, so you have to make sure that you finish these activities by this end date. And of course, you also see the primary owner and the involved parties. So you see where you are the owners of this action. So you take those actions on time, and of course you have involved parties from our side, who will be helping you through that activities where necessary. Yes. Okay. This is about project plan. I will move to the next section. Sorry. Um, this is a bit information about the ethics section, where, as you know, in all the European Commission run projects, ethical aspects are always to be considered, and they are considered very important. So do we in this project, and specifically in your experiment, when there exists an ethical issue or potential ethical issue, those needs to be properly addressed, right? So in that perspective, what we help you to do is that in the beginning, our ethical experts will review your experiment, your proposal, and come up with an committee report, ethics committee report to you, where they will identify potential ethical issues that your experiment may have. This is and this is your guideline in terms of which ethical issues you need to specifically take care of during your solution designing, and how will you address them basically. And that is what you need to deliver as a report in terms of what actions you will take. So there are various versions of this report that you will deliver. So in the initial version, you will deliver a report where you will simply identify and acknowledge those ethical issues, and in the future or the final version, you essentially report back in terms of how have you handled those ethical issues, if they are there. Yeah. So that is about ethics. Of course, you can read what is mentioned here, and come back to us if you have further questions, also via mentors or via help desk. I will move to the next section then, the KPIs and deliverables. So we have this now a table where you can find all the KPIs and deliverables linked to each milestone. Bit about the table or the section itself. These are the KPIs and deliverables that we expect you to fulfill during this program. And you can see in this there is a description where we explain where we are describing what you need to do. There is a due date, so by this due date you need to finish this particular KPI or deliverable. The columns of status and date of completion are there. This will be updated during the course of the program as and when they are necessary to be updated by the mentors, right? So, for example, when you meet this KPI and mentors have evaluated that, they will come and update with the status of this KPI and the date of completion when it is accepted. So, possible statuses are mentioned here above the table that will be placed in this column. And when it is accepted, it is always accompanied by date of completion. Um, uh, these are the statuses, of course, and when it is rejected, you will also learn from your mentor why it was rejected and what steps you need to take in order to correct it. Now, there is another column called type, which defines whether this is a KPI or deliverable. And in the comments, you will find a brief description about this particular KPI or deliverable. That is to give you a bit more context about what this activity or this item is about. Right. So under each milestone, you will see there are some KPIs that you need to fulfill, and there is also deliverables that you need to fulfill. So here you can see in the first milestone, the first version of IMP to be attached to sub-grant agreement is your deliverable that you need to fulfill. Yeah. Similarly, for the second milestone, you have a list of items. Again, here, as I mentioned previously, each consortium has to have at least one certified LEBDS, and this is an KPI for the second milestone that needs to be fulfilled by this particular date. More details are provided here a bit, and I also see there is a comment about asking more clarification or more details. So LEBDS stands for local expert in B2B data sharing and based on iForTrust, or you can call them iForTrust LEBDS certified experts. And these experts are essentially people who go through the training and go through the certification process of iForTrust training, where we explain or we impart the knowledge on iSHARE and FIWARE, and together along how we brought them together and as in iForTrust building blocks. So that is an explanation of this whole iForTrust framework that we provide to you as a solution that you can use to develop your to use in your experiment. And these experts, so each experiment is needed to have one expert within their consortium. Some of the DHs who had been involved in iForTrust community a bit before, some of them have already gone through this process and they already have LEBDS. However, we understand not all of you have done so. So we still give you the time, and since today the training camp has started, so all the LEBDS candidates should go through this training camp and go through the certification process soon after. And once they have passed, then a certificate is provided to them, right? Uh, these training sessions will also be available as recorded sessions. So, in case due to certain days or conflict of no time available for that particular candidate, he or she can go through the recorded session of the training, and then apply for the certification process. These training recordings are also available from the previous training camps. More or less, they are there. Of course, we update them as we evolve our technologies and components. So always make sure that you go through the latest ones as possible as available, and the latest training is happening now from today. So the recordings should be uploaded soon, hopefully next week or week after, on and available on iFootRust YouTube channel for those sessions. If you have more specific questions on this, please feel free to ask them either via chat or help desk. Okay, I hope I have answered this question. Ideally, LABDS are coming from DIHs, but we understand that some DIHs don't have technical people in house, and in that case, usually then their partners could nominate a candidate from their organization who can act as an LABDS. Yeah, so this is the milestone 2 and some of the KPIs and deliverables mentioned in here. Then there is a milestone 3, of course, and which has the prototype and more details about the prototype. What we expect is mentioned here, and further other KPIs and deliverables that are mentioned under this milestone. Um, and of course, with the final milestone, you have also the list of KPIs and deliverables that are mentioned that are to be completed under this milestone. One thing to know is that for milestone 3 and final milestone, we have project specific KPIs, which we expect you to set yourself in this document before the first version is delivered. So these are the KPIs that you set yourself in based on your experiment goals, basically, that you will achieve by this milestone. Same for the in the final milestone, you have these two KPIs that you need to set, right? The others are already set for you. These are the project specific ones, so it is only for your project that you will fulfill these KPIs that you need to set. Then there is also a section where we list down overall KPIs. So these are the KPIs which we don't necessarily associate to particular milestones, but we expect you to do it throughout the mentoring program. Like to meet, like for example, this is about the delay in deliverables. So average delay should not be greater than 5 working days of your deliveries, and similar items that are mentioned here. So these are overall KPIs which we evaluate at every stage, as well as in the final milestone, basically. Yeah. So please make sure that you go through this KPIs and deliverables list thoroughly and understand what these are. And if you require further clarifications or if you have further questions, of course, you can share that with your mentors or via the help desk. Okay, and then there is a budget section. The sequence or the way this payment distribution schedule is mentioned here with the indicative dates, basically here. So after the validation of first milestone, 15% of the grant is given, and after the validation of second, another 15%. After the third milestone, 30%, and 40% after the final milestone is finished. So this is the payment schedule uh, that will be followed in this round. Here you need to attach the budget file in the template you already have. So you already used this template for uh, in your proposal for specifying the budget. You can copy paste it from your proposal, basically, and attach that table here. Yeah. So that was about part A, and now we go to the part B. Part B is where, as I mentioned, is your living version of your document, and here is where we are we detail out, or you detail out, basically all the details of your experiment. Um, so in this section, which may be seeming very familiar to you already, is because this section, some of these sections are copied from the template that you used in the proposal, and you can also copy paste that information from your proposal in this document for the version 1, and you can update them as and when you have further updates on those sections. So here we just ask you to provide with the name of the organizations who are part of the consortium, and you also mention the name of the LEBDS and your iFor Trust ambassador, right? And contact information, as I already mentioned, there is a contact sheet that is placed in your folder. You can update all your project contacts there, so that it's easier for each other to find contacts of each other, basically. Description of challenge, again, you can copy it from your proposal document. What is your challenge all about? Explain that in further details. Of course, with more insights, you can update the description of the challenge here throughout the course of the program. Then there is next section where we ask you to describe the roles of your participants who are participating in your experiment, and these roles are basically from the perspective of iFortrust role model. So what role do they play in iFortrust data spaces architecture, and whether they play data provider, data owner, data consumer, or they are more like service providers like marketplace or identity provider or authorization registry or even satellites, right? So some basic items are placed here which helps you fulfill them in specified format, but of course you can add more descriptive information here. Again, this section is also something that you can copy paste from your proposal document. Then in the architecture section, you define your architecture. Again, here you have already defined your architecture in your proposal, which you can paste as the initial version, and then together we evolve that architecture if necessary, and you keep on updating that in this document. For your easy reference, the links to the building blocks document and tutorials are provided here already, so you can also refer to these uh, guides and the building block document in terms of understanding how we do it. An example of an architecture diagram is given to you. Of course, you need to change this with your own diagram, but this is given for you as a reference that how we include all the necessary elements in an architecture and how we depict it. So you can take inspiration from this and develop your own diagram, which is relevant for your experiment, and place it here. Again, high level role model mapping. So because per use case you will have different roles that same organizations may be playing, so you have to define those elements in this section. And then you also have the use case description section where you actually describe all the use cases that you are going to support. So a good description of what you are going to do or which use cases you are going to support. Then followed by a sequence diagram section where an example of sequence diagram is presented here, and you need to of course replace this with your own sequence diagrams which are pertaining to your use cases and how do you achieve that. And this example is given to you in order to in as a reference where you see the level of detail we would like to see in a sequence diagram. Yeah. And of course, yeah, another important element is to define your digital twins or the data models that you will be using in that perspective. So you can also, you already have this table in your proposal, you can copy paste it and further evolve it as you go through the program. So this is the individual mentoring plan template one, and you need to start filling this template or plan basically starting today. And the first version to be ready by 15th of January. Of course, feel free to reach to us or the mentors to get necessary guidance where you have questions and you need some guidance, but you should familiarize yourself with this document as soon as possible so that you understand how this whole mentoring program works and looks like. Then I go back to the presentation I was at. So I already mentioned these points while I was explaining to you about the individual mentoring plan. Um, Again, I will reiterate the first version of individual mentoring plan is to be attached as annexed in the subgrant agreement at the end of first month, that is 15th of January. So please keep that in mind. And IMP, as I mentioned, covers KPIs, deliverables, milestones, schedule, and those elements. Okay, let me go to the next slide. Oh, sorry. I should be in the presentation mode. Okay, with that, I will pass on mic to our colleague who will explain to you about business mentoring. Tibor? Tibor? Rosa?
Yeah, sorry, I was waiting to get
No
my.
worries.
Yeah, I'll share my screen. All right, yeah. So thank you, Rajiv, for this overview. I'll have like a few slides just to present the business mentoring of the for you the experience. So you know who your mentor is now, and so what will be following, thanks to the whole framework that we have, is based on the lean mentoring, well, the lean approach, and there's the idea of like constant testing and feedback. And for this, we created like a tailored methodology that is based on two big parts. So the first one is based on the data-driven innovation framework methodology that we're using in partnership with the ones who created this framework. So it will help you to understand the value of the data that you're producing. So by mapping, making an exercise of mapping and understanding this value. And then the second part will be more dedicated to the business model canvas, which is a more like classic exercise that I imagine some of you have already been through. And so in this, the mentors, so both Martins will be supporting you in this to kind of confront your pilot with those different work framework. And so how it will work. So of course now you know your mentor, you'll have this little presentation with them. You will go through 3 interactive workshops. So I will share after those mirror boards just to give you a quick glimpse at it. Of course, there will be some videos to support this, where all the framework is explained and goes through each step of it. So to support you also to understand it, and when you have those sessions with the mentors, to have more like practical work. In this context, all of you each experiment will have its own Miro board. So Miro is a collaborative tool that allows you to just stick post-its and then work with your mentor on it, and just put your brains on paper, let's say. And then we've shaped it that at the end you will just have to extract some let's say images from it, and we'll be doing this. So it will constitute your deliverable for this. I'll show quickly the middle board. So I'll change the screen. All right, I'll show this. And so the middle board is, as you can see, is quite big. You have a first part in black. Can you see the middle? Yeah, I guess so. Where you have a first part, or you can just exchange your contact details with your mentor. You have a little exercise that you can do, which is we call a Zen statement. When you'll be working with your mentor, you can just go through those building this little sentence that kind of defines your pilot. And then the business mentoring, as we said, is divided in three main blocks. So the DDI, so the data-driven board based on the supply side, and then the one on the demand side, and then the business model canvas. So you have a whole explanation about this, but also those videos that will support this, because otherwise it can get a bit lost in it. And then you have those empty canvases that it's fairly kind of well explained, and all the steps are clear. So, and both all the mentors know this framework, they've worked with it, so they can really help you and take the best value out of it. And then you have the last part, which is the business model canvas, where we explain also the relationship between what you've done and the reality of the business model canvas. And then a few questions and some conclusions. And all of these frames then can be exported to your main deliverable. All right, so let's go back now to the presentation. So yeah, I mentioned the business mentoring. So the meeting with your mentors, and so now the more like the let's say the deliverables and the framework. So it's again those three blocks. So first, you'll start with this first module of the DDI until February, end of February. Then the second workshop, June, and then the last one in September 14 with the deliverable and the sustainability plan. So during this whole process, you'll be supported with your mentor, and can seek mentoring hours with them. So don't hesitate to keep close contact with them, ask questions, and the goal is really to take out values from this process for your consortium, and bring out the best value of your data that you can get. So yeah, that's the overview of how the business mentoring will look like for all of you. Thank you. If you have any question, or we can also just discuss by email after, or with your mentor. Don't hesitate. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Tibor. And I think the next part is communications with Ankylos.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, let me share the screen. How much time do I have? 5 minutes or 10?
You can take the time.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I will introduce very briefly how we will collaborate with the experiments during the next 9 months during the mentoring program. So you will understand how we can together promote the work that you will be doing. First of all, I wanted to welcome all of you. We have 17 new experiments that will be developed during the next 9 months. These experiments belong to different domains, but after checking your proposal, we can say that we are working in 10 domains. Some of them are quite more specific, but we need to keep some general domains of activity. All the SMEs and DIHs participating in these experiments are represented by 27 cities at least, as far as I have been able to check, all the contributions. And we have, as far as I know, 93 SMEs. So welcome all, and we will work together in the promotion of these new experiments. From the FIWARE Foundation, we are supporting some communication activities, and this is just to show you that we will promote these experiments in I4Trust website. You already presented them, but now we just need to work a bit on the content in order to share in a clear way the challenge, the solution, and also the big business expectations, the scalability of the solutions, right? So we will work together in the content, and we will also participate in some events in the next months, some boot camps, and also through together with the partners with FIWARE Funding Box and iSHARE. There is also the option of participating together in some domain-specific events. We will also collaborate in social media. As I will explain in the next slides, we need your contribution, but just wanted to make it very clear that this is a joint effort to promote the work that we are doing together. You know that with these experiments, we are positioning ourselves as front runners of the data space revolution, because we have the components, and what we are doing together is something real. You are working with real life challenge, and this is something that, of course, we will promote in different networks with different stakeholders around Europe. The Data Space Business Alliance also contributing to different events, like, for example, the European Big Data Value Forum, the FIWARE Global Summit. So all this work, as I said, will be to promote your work in also international events, like, for example, the FIWARE Global Summit and the most important events in Europe. From now on, we will be working in a communication kit that basically include the press release that we are already working in the draft, and we are planning to launch next week. In this press release, we will introduce, or we will explain with a couple of sentences, what is the experiment about, each of the experiments. And at the same time, we are working in one-pagers with this description of the experiment, the specific challenge, the solution, the business projection, scalability, benefits in general of the experiment. As soon as we have this content, we will produce a slide deck that is a kind of a brochure, something that you can use, or we can use when presenting the experiment in a more understandable way. And we will also create a couple of banners that you can use, and also some banners representing each experiment. And probably we will work next year in some curated content. Last year we were doing video interviews with all the experiments that we uploaded in our YouTube channel. So initially this is the plan for the next year, but maybe we can decide on working in any other asset together with you. In this communication kit, we also have some recommendations in social media. So I will kindly ask you all to follow I4Trust in our social media channels. These channels are on the website, but I am adding also in this presentation. And we will be using reporting spreadsheet that will be shared with you all through the mentors, or even maybe myself. I will send an email to all of you to update all this information. One of the things that we need is to map in all the channels. So we will ask you to share your social media channels. Of course, the experiment will not have a channel, but you can, add your company channels or personal channels. Because as you will see, for example, today I was posting in LinkedIn and I was tagging some of the people that are today with us. So this is what we usually do in LinkedIn. Okay, we mention you, you will mention us, and this is a bit what we need to do together during the next months. So the first thing that we need is to map all these channels and to follow each other. This communication kit will also include hashtag catalog, just in case, because we have been gathering all the hashtags that we need, we think that we should use together when referring to domains, or when referring to efficient data sharing or data spaces. So using this catalog, we can just use the same hashtags. And of course, I always like to remind you all to join the community. I suppose that you are already in the community, but here is where we share a lot of things together, questions, the help desk, etc. But not just the help desk, but also news on I4Trust. In the communication kit, I will also include this link asking you if you want to join our newsletter. We do not send a lot of newsletters, maybe a couple of them, but this is just to share with you some relevant news, basically on data spaces, and when we have some important news for not just for the community, but all the people interested in what I4Trust is doing. In this spreadsheet, we will ask you as well to contribute with the events where you may be participating, domain-specific events, and also some social media posting. You will see in the mentoring plan that there is a small KPI. We would like you to post at least once per month on the activities that you are doing, and we use this reporting dashboard to just to be aware, okay, and also sometimes to be able to share or answer to your post and connect this way, okay. And last but not least, we will also include the brand guidelines, just in case you want to create your own communications. You have the logos and the color guide and the fonts that we use. We will also ask you to contribute to impact stories. What does this mean? Now you have the description of your experiment, and you will be working for 9 months with them. At the end of this mentoring program, this is just to write again on your experiments, but with all the experience during the 9th month. So at the end, what we are looking for is to have this impact in the market, and this is just redesign on the work that you are planning to do. After 9 months, you will see that you reach some achievements or KPIs, and We will also select the best stories that will be shared in FIWARE channels and iSHARE and Funding Box, because the partners at the end can promote also the best in class stories. But all of them will be updated in I4Trust website. This will be at the end of the mentoring program. So just to summarize some KPIs and deliverables that you will find connected to communication activities in this mentoring program. You need to participate in the welcome event. You are here. You will need to review, or we will ask you to review in the next days, or maybe in a couple of weeks or 1 week, the one pagers. Why? Because we are writing ourselves and we will need your help, to make this understandable for the audience. Okay. Of course, these one pagers are based on your proposals, your application proposals. Provide the social media handles on the communication dashboard, and please follow us in Twitter and LinkedIn to start connecting and discussing online. The milestone 2 is this involvement in the creation of some content that we will use to promote the experiments. As I said, maybe we will be doing interviews again, online interviews, of course. But this is something that we need to discuss, okay? Because some of the new events, like the cross value chain fundraising bootcamp, will be face to face. So we will decide how to do this. You need to be present at least in 2 domain relevant events that you can select yourself. Of course, from our side, if iShare, Funding Box, if we are participating in some event, we will let you know, and then we can even meet together. The contribution to the impact stories, and at the end of the project, if when selecting best in class, maybe we will ask you to check some materials just to read and check that there is not any mistake, but nothing relevant or time consuming. Okay, I think that this is the last slide. Yeah. So if you have questions.
Yeah, thanks, Nicholas. I think now is Juanjo to present.
Yeah. You give me a second to share the screen.
Yeah.
Now you should be seeing that, and well, I will be covering the last part of this session, where I will simply describe very high-level aspects connected to the help desk and multi-tier support, and a bit of aspects linked to the community building. Even though I want to mention that many of what I will just bring here, highlight, will be elaborated more in detail during the session that we are running on Wednesday, December 21st, for the digital innovation hubs. So digital innovation hubs that are part of the program involving the different experiments should attend that session, where we will go more into the details of what I'm going to introduce here. Well, I already commented in the introduction session we have had this morning that iForTrust program is not just about delivering technology that you can use for your experiments. Is about creating a community, and a community where precisely your experiments are going to be pioneer in the use of the technology, but also helping to ignite the community that we want to create around the technology. and the other aspects of and building blocks that, as we described this morning, are necessary for the creation of data spaces. So for this, one aspect that is essential is to provide the adequate support to anyone that is trying to use the framework and approach our community. And we should not only limit to um, potential organizations that belong to uh, the experiments that are funded. We have to be also open to other organizations that will learn about the existence of I4Trust, and because the good alignment that it provides to the existing data spaces initiatives and in place, among others, within the Digital Europe program, may be willing to use the framework and learn about experiences and best practices and so on. So we have to set up a framework for uh, delivering the necessary technical support and also non-technical support. So technical support covering aspects about, okay, how my organization may join a Knife for Trust data spaces participant, how we can use the different components of the technology framework that is being provided, and but also aspects that have to do, as I said, with non-technical aspects, like how I can really create value out of sharing data, and is my particular use case something where I will be able to develop a sustainable business model around, um, how I can really, evolve and bring the data space and designing into the market, covering therefore other aspects that have to do with governance that is necessary in such data spaces. So we have to create a community that becomes a reference for, getting all that sort of support. And very important, we in how to address that support. We thought and we're very conscious that we need to be able to scale up. And in that sense, the core partners that are behind I4Trust, iSHARE Foundation, FIWARE Foundation, Funding Box are not enough. We need to engage, and particularly engage with the digital innovation hubs, who we expect will embrace that I4Trust as an opportunity to develop their mission, and because we understand that many of the digital innovation hubs that exist in Europe, their mission is about creating ecosystems and develop the opportunities for adopting new technologies. In this case, creating data spaces for SMEs and other kind of organizations in the regions they are operating. So DIHs are definitely called to play an essential role in providing the necessary support to growth the I4Trust community. And that's indeed one of the reasons why when we launched the open call, we put as a requirement that experiments should bring at least one digital innovation hub, because again, I want to emphasize it was not about covering and solving some concrete use cases. Of course, they are going to be very useful to create those kind of references that may help others to, get convinced and not adopting the technology. But the reason why your DIH is involved in the consortiums of experiments selected through the second open call is that they can join the community and they can develop the skills and everything that is needed to bring support not only to the partners in their experiments, but other SMEs that may become interested in I4 Trust as a technology for creating data spaces. We will set up a multi-tier support system, which means that there will be different tiers to help addressing whatever question that may come from a potential user. And essentially, I will summarize here. We have, of course, a zero tier, which is essentially intended to bring information that help many users in self-help themselves, and for that we will provide frequently asked questions libraries and a lot of documentation and training material and different aspects, videos as well, that users will be invited to use in the first place. But then that information available may not be enough. There might be questions very specific that come and still need to be solved. And what we will go through is by means of a process where those users will be able to formulate their questions relying on the help desk interface we are implementing in the Alpha Trust community. And when such questions are formulated through that help desk channel, there will be a back office process in place that we will describe in detail in that session next Wednesday, where there will be a travel ticketing system bringing support to the creation of tickets associated to those questions, and we will be able to follow up how those questions get answered, involving DIHs in the first tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 1 being able to answer the more easy questions, a bit based on guidelines. Tier 2 being trying to be able to solve some of the business and more technical questions that may have been formulated. And for that, the creation of the labs and is essential, and that's why it is also very important that the DIHs are involved in the training. And last but not least, there might be, of course, questions DIHs may not be able to solve, and that is fine. That's why we are the I4 Trust core partners involved and bringing experts that ultimately will provide the necessary support when needed, and when DIHs has not yet get used perhaps with enough experience to answer all the questions. But gradually, we expect that not everything will arrive to tier 3. That would be meaning that we are not handling things properly. Again, we want the IDs to get engaged in being able to support in the first place their own communities. Very briefly, and clicking here, I just wanted to show you the I4 Trust community platform. You will be asked to register here, and there will be updates about news and notifications that we will communicate to the members that will go through this platform. There will be a specific group created for DIHs, and so that you can exchange more closely with us in a more sort of a private manner, the DIHs and the I4 Trust core partners, to solve any issues that you may be facing and bring in support or acting as ambassadors in your local ecosystem. And last but not least, there would be this help desk front end through which the users will be invited to formulate their questions, and questions that you will see on Wednesday will automatically trigger the creation of tickets that will help us, all of us, to be able to follow up the how a given question is being treated and handled, and until it gets finally responded. Coming back to the slide, and I think this is just a final summary. Support tasks are essential if we want I4Trust frameworks to get adopted. But we want to emphasize this is an opportunity for DIHs to really, show the value they can offer to their communities, not just the experiments that are going to be involved in this mentoring phase, but also being able to position you as a organization that can support SMEs locally to create projects for data spaces, perhaps in other programs like Digital Europe program, but also in the real market, solving problems that actually we want to get solved. It's a collaborative effort, so we have to make that happen all together. And that's how a community will be built. And it's not just about iSHARE or FIWARE Foundation being able to engage with the potential users. Digital innovation hubs definitely have a crucial role. We will be bringing all the necessary tools for that, so you don't need to put those tools. We will put them for you with a structured process that we can follow and share together to be able to monitor how the users get properly supported, following this multi-tier approach where you feel sure we'll have all the necessary support needed by the I4Trust core partners. Um, and well, don't miss in that sense the opportunity to become an ambassador of I4Trust. I'm referring to the digital innovation hubs in the first place, but of course, we expect that SMEs that will experience the benefits of creating data spaces using this framework will become also ambassadors to a great extent. But for the DHS, this we believe would definitely bring a great opportunity. And so we look very much forward seeing you in the session about DHS onboarding that will take place next Wednesday. And with this, I pass the token, the floor back to Rajiv. If
Yes.
you want to moderate.
Thank you,
Right.
Juanjo. Yeah, so as you see already, the slide is about question and answer. So with this, we finish this session that we wanted to explore, to impart with you. And now is the time where when you have questions, you can ask us and we can answer them. So either raise your hand or put your question in the chat or question and answer section.
Well, we are right at the beginning. There might be not that many questions, but sure they will come
Yeah.
during this process, and definitely we have all the tools in place to be uh, yeah, to bring you all the necessary support. But again, don't miss the opportunity to make some initial questions.
Yeah. So I see there is one question in the chat. Where can I get mentoring plan document? Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, for each experiment, we have created a folder in the shared drive, and that folder should we will share with your experiment basically. So people from your experiment should have access to it, and you will find the template of which I shared already placed in that folder. Yeah, I think someone raised a hand. Nicholas, can you invite?
They're not.
Can you invite him on stage?
I need to see how to do it. Hand mic. A ver, 1 second. I think that now.
Yeah,
Hi,
thank you.
Simon. Yeah.
Thanks, Rajiv. I was just wondering regarding the LEBDS
Yeah.
requirements. Is there a limit on the number of LEBDS that are assigned to each experiment? And do you have any more information at this stage just regarding what the certification process is like, or what that involves?
Yeah, so I hear two questions. First question is about limit. There is actually no limit, so we need minimum one, but there is no maximum. So all your team can become LBDS. We would be very happy to see that. And in terms of the process, so as I said, if the candidate needs to go through the training and have the understanding of I4Trust elements, and then follows with the examination. So there are two parts to the exam. One is conducted with FIWARE expert exam process, and another is iSHARE expert examination. So these two examinations can be scheduled with the experts from both these foundations, and the examination is more like an interview thing. So it's more of a conversation where the experts ask some questions, and the candidate demonstrates the understanding, and there is like a scenario given, and the candidate then uses that scenario to answer the questions. It's more like that. And when on various parameters these elements are assessed, and when evaluators of the examination think the level of knowledge demonstrated is enough, based on that scoring is given, and with the score you either pass or fail. In case of failure, you can reappear for the exam by better preparing next time, and in case of passing both the parts, then you are granted with the LBDS certification. And with that, we also put your name on I4Trust website as LEBDS certified candidate, and those kind of additional elements. But the idea is that LEBDS in the experiment is also like the very first person who is helping the experiment locally, and always available to the experiment, apart from, of course, iFortrust mentors and experts that are provided by iSHARE and FIWARE Foundation. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Rajiv.
Okay, I see. What is the deadline for certification? The deadline for certification is mentioned to be 28th of February. I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 20th of February, it's end of February.
And is the training is just online? I presume right now it's separate to any mentoring sessions that are happening over the next 4 or 5 days.
Yeah. So I think it's this same link, Ankeles. Can you confirm it's the same link for the training session, right? For the air meet?
Yes.
Sorry, yes, it
Yeah.
is.
So on this link itself, the training is going on already. The
Okay.
training.
Yeah, they need to join the session at 3.
Perfect.
And I understand the same link will be working for the following days.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think there was an email sent with an agenda on when the training, which training is when. So you
Yeah,
should have.
that was in the agenda that we sent to you on November 28th, if I'm not wrong. But besides that, there was in the Eventbrite description of sessions. In that Eventbrite, there was not captured this plenary mentoring session because that was private to the second open call experiments, but the rest of the agenda is available there. So you have these two places from which you may get the information.
Yeah. Just for your convenience, I'm placing the Eventbrite link on the chat.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, you can see that on the overall schedule.
Yeah, overall schedule, you can see that. Yeah, I see there is a question regarding, besides having designated Google Drive folders per project, is there a shared resources where projects and people contact info is available? There are several project people we would be interested to get into. So for answering that question, you can join the iFortrust community, which was also shown by Juanjo. It's on this link. There we all have all the experiments and other people also participating in these spaces, and we have dedicated communities. There will be a space dedicated for the experiments of second round as well, where you all will be made part of. So that is only for you, but also you have access to the larger community of iFortrust, where previous experiments and DHs, but also others who have other organizations who are interested in iFortrust are also part of this community space. Okay.
Leonid,
Hello, my name is Leonid Hatskevich. I have a couple of questions. First of all, it's about again LEBDS. So you have mentioned that LEBDS is some person who helps for the experiment locally. If part of our consortium is in Spain and part of our consortium is in Ukraine, should we have two LEBDS or one is enough?
Yeah, that's a good question. So now one is what we require as minimum. Of course, two, if you that's up to you. If you have if you need to add more. Yeah, when in case of international consortiums, I think it makes more sense where your development teams are, because then this candidate can help you with being very closer to you. However, that should not restrict, irrespective of where the LEBDS is and where your development teams are. With today's world, where you can easily connect online, and especially it is because within your own consortium, you have closer communication channels than you would have with us, for example. Of course, we encourage you to also have very close communication channels with us. Uh, but yeah, it's also something that LBDS is potentially working in your own domain and has better knowledge of your domain than some of us can provide, and that should help you in a better manner because then this candidate also has now good knowledge of IFA along with the good knowledge of your relevant use case. And that is the reason we ask you to have an LBDS within your own team. And also the idea is that LBDS usually comes from DIH, and as explained by Juanjo, DIH is formed the basis for developing this IFA as a community and sustain even beyond the scope of this project.
Noted. Thank you. So, as far as I understand, I can discuss with our mentor how to proceed with this LABDS certification for somebody from our team. Okay. And second question is to Angeles. About you mentioned we should in 1 week or maybe 2 weeks or a couple of days prepare some materials for some brochures, one pagers. Should we contact you directly or somebody from your team? How should we proceed in that?
Yeah.
Maybe you have some brief or maybe some forms we have to fill, something like that.
No, maybe I did not explain properly. Sorry for that. No, we will be from the FIWARE Foundation team. We will be producing these one pagers. Okay, we are working already with the content, so you don't need to produce.
Okay, so it's on your side. We
exactly. So
You
what?
will be asked to review.
Yeah. So what I have been presenting the communication kit that will be a Word document with all the links, and all this information. So we will have everything in one document. By the way, this communication kit, that this is something that I did not say, will be updated, depending on the milestone. But it is quite simple, in the kit you will find the link to the dashboard, and I will also align with the mentors just in case, because the mentors will be in touch with you, and they will have all these a couple of documents with the one pagers. As soon as we have them finished, and as I said, I calculate not before the end of the year, but maybe we will be sharing with representatives or of the experiments, or maybe with all the contact persons that we have in a given experiment. So yeah, I don't know who can review, but this is something that we need because maybe we do not understand something.
Okay. So when you will have some final draft, we can just update, review, or some.
Yeah, I will send this to you. Yeah.
Okay. Noted. Thank you. That's all from my side.
There are some questions in the chat, Rajiv, that I don't know if you have been already answered. The one by Manix, I don't know.
Yeah, is last year's LABDS certificate still valid, or have we got to renew it? I think it's still valid.
They are.
Yeah. Then the next question, I'm representing a DH and have some admin challenges with formal check. It is a specific question and not relevant for whole audience. Is it possible to have short video call with someone from the team? I think this is more relevant for Rosa. I don't know if she's there.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, there is a question in the chat. You can read from Tess van Basten. There is a DH who is facing some challenges with formal check, and they request a short video call to address that.
Yeah, it's possible. Indeed, to this specific experiment, we sent some reminders and some information yesterday to finish this process. But yes, of course, it's possible to organize this. I will send you a calendar invite right after the meeting. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Tess. Yeah, Annette, you're looking for the link for AMP. You should get an Google notification of the folder shared today. In the folder, you will have the IMP document as well. Your mentor will share your folder with you. I hope that answers your question, Annette. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, the link that Jason has provided of YouTube, that is giving you more details about the LEBDS and the certification in general. We had covered that topic in one of the Wednesday webinars conducted by FIWARE to explain more about LEBDS and also give you a preview of how do we conduct examinations and also some relevant information around it. So please make sure that you watch that video when you have more questions. And of course, you can reach to us as well for asking those questions. Okay. I think we covered all the questions in the chat. Did we miss anything? I don't think so. Okay. Are there further questions? Well, I guess not anymore. Okay, then I think with this, we are at the close of this session. And I hope to all the relevant people joining the training session that starts at 3. The links have already been shared and also the agenda. Please make sure that right people from your teams are joining the training, because it's important that you understand in detail about iFor Trust. That helps you throughout the whole program of implementation of your solution. And with this, I wish you all the best, and we keep in touch. Any other closing words from you, Juanjo?
No, simply to share with the all the experiments here that we feel very excited about this new round of experiments. We really believe you are going to play a key role in growing the ecosystem, and certainly your stories will become reference for others to, jump into this new area of data spaces. And yeah, so we are going to do to make this all together grow, and we also will make sure that you rock. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ending.